It was a quiet evening when Sarah first heard it. The soft, almost imperceptible whisper in the dark of her room. At first, she thought it was just the wind, perhaps the creaking of an old house, or the rustling of trees outside her window. But as the nights passed, the whisper grew clearer, and it no longer felt like the wind at all. It was too deliberate. Sarah had always considered herself a rational person. A scientist by profession, she didn't believe in ghosts, spirits, or anything supernatural. Yet, as the whispers persisted, she found herself questioning everything she thought she knew. The voice wasn't speaking in any language she could understand. It was strange, yet oddly familiar, as if it had always been there, hidden beneath the surface of her consciousness. One night, unable to resist the pull any longer, Sarah decided to follow the whispers. They seemed to come from the edge of her bed, just beyond the shadows where the room met the wall. She held her breath as she waited, hoping for an answer, for any clue that would explain this strange phenomenon. But all she got was silence, and then, a faint glow. It was coming from the corner of her room, flickering like a dying star. Terrified, yet intrigued, Sarah stepped closer. The glow intensified as she reached out, her fingertips brushing the cold surface of the wall. Suddenly, the whisper returned, louder this time, but it wasn't just in her ears, it was in her mind, too. "You are not alone." It was then that she realized, this wasn't a human voice. This was something alien. Sarah didn't know what to do. She called a friend, Mark, who was a researcher in extraterrestrial phenomena. He didn't take her seriously at first, but when she described the glow and the whisper, his demeanor changed. "You're not the only one," he said cryptically. "I've heard similar stories before, stories of people being contacted by something beyond our understanding. But they don't always end well." The next few days were a blur for Sarah. She couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. The whispers were always there, like an itch she couldn't scratch. She began to notice strange occurrences, objects moved when she wasn't looking, shadows shifted in the corner of her vision, and sometimes, when she closed her eyes, the whispers would grow into a cacophony of voices, all speaking in unison. Mark started digging into historical records, searching for any mention of alien encounters through time. There were accounts, but they were fragmented and often dismissed as hallucinations or fever dreams. He believed that the whispers Sarah was hearing might be the first contact, a communication attempt from an intelligence beyond Earth. As the days passed, the whispers became more urgent. The voice in her mind now called her by name, "Sarah, come closer, we are waiting." Her thoughts became increasingly muddled, as if something was seeping into her consciousness, taking root. Sarah couldn't ignore it any longer. The whispers were too real, too powerful. She decided to confront whatever it was, to finally understand what it wanted from her. Sarah made her way back to her room one evening, determined to confront whatever entity had been reaching out to her. Mark had suggested that she approach this logically, perhaps with a scientific method. But Sarah knew in her heart that there was nothing logical about this. She was dealing with something beyond human comprehension. As she entered the room, she felt the familiar chill in the air, the sensation that she was being watched. The faint glow was there again, more intense than before. But this time, it wasn't just a light. It was a doorway. A rip in reality itself. Through the glowing crack, she could see something moving, a figure, or perhaps a shadow, but it was so alien that Sarah couldn't begin to describe it. "Sarah," the voice called, but this time, it wasn't a whisper. It was clear, resonant, like it was coming from all around her. "You have been chosen." Her heart raced as she took a step closer to the glowing crack in the wall. The figure on the other side seemed to notice her, or perhaps it sensed her presence. Slowly, it began to emerge from the rift, its shape fluid, shifting between forms that Sarah couldn't fully comprehend. One moment it was humanoid, the next, it was something completely different, a mass of swirling light and shadow. The creature spoke again. "You are the first to hear us. The first to understand. We have waited for centuries, and now, we have found a way." Sarah's mind was racing. She was terrified, but also strangely exhilarated. She had always been fascinated by the idea of extraterrestrial life, but this was something else entirely. But as she listened, she realized that there was something more to this encounter than just communication. The whisperers weren't just trying to make contact, they were in desperate need of something. Something that Sarah had yet to understand. Before she could ask another question, the creature's form shifted again, becoming something even more alien and terrifying. "You must decide," it said. "Help us, and you will learn the truth. Reject us, and you will remain in the darkness, forever alone." Sarah stood frozen, her mind racing with possibilities. The creature before her wasn't just offering knowledge, it was offering power. The ability to understand the universe, to see beyond what the human mind could grasp. But with that knowledge came a price. A price she wasn't sure she was willing to pay. The creature's form flickered again, as if sensing her hesitation. "We have been watching you, Sarah. Watching the way you think, the way you question the world around you. You are different from the others. You understand that there is more to existence than what you see. You have the potential to unlock the doors to an entirely new reality." Sarah could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She could feel the whispers in her mind growing louder, more insistent. They weren't just calling her anymore, they were a part of her. She was connected to them now, whether she liked it or not. But what would it mean to accept their offer? Would it change her forever? Would it destroy everything she had known about herself, about humanity? The more she thought about it, the more she realized that she couldn't live in ignorance. She had to know. She had to understand what the whisperers wanted from her. "I accept," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Tell me what I must do." The creature's form solidified, and a strange sense of calm washed over her. "You must let us in," it said. "Let us show you the truth." As Sarah closed her eyes, the whispers engulfed her, pulling her into a new reality. Her consciousness expanded, racing across the stars, through galaxies she had never imagined. She saw things that no human eye had ever seen: the birth of stars, the collapse of civilizations, the endless dance of life and death across the universe. And then, she understood. The whisperers were not just trying to communicate. They were looking for a way to survive. Their race was dying, and they needed a host, a human who could carry their essence, their consciousness, into the future. And Sarah had been chosen to be that host. But as the realization set in, Sarah's mind recoiled. She had accepted their offer, but she had never considered the consequences. She could feel the whisperers in her mind now, their thoughts mingling with hers, slowly taking over. It was too late to turn back. The whispers would never stop. "You said. Send 6 pictures of the story above one by one."